Archaeologists' digs have uncovered many large and small tubs that seem to have served as public and private baths. Archaeologists believe that these do not just reflect a desire for physical hygiene, but a value for ritual purity. Ritual purity does not just designate bodily cleanliness, but a state of being free from spiritual pollution and of things being in their proper place. To understand this better, things needing to be in their proper place, we can think of two examples from our own lives. One, we can think of someone sitting in a suit, eating a salad, a tasty salad with the most delicious dressing. Now the person is wearing a clean suit. They're eating a salad which is sure clean enough to put in their mouth and eat. Yet, if there is a misapplication of the salad from the plate to the mouth and it falls on the person's tie, all of a sudden a tie which was henceforth clean and pure, and a salad which was henceforth clean and pure enough to put in one's mouth have come together, then pollution or a stain has happened. There's no longer cleanliness because things are no longer in their proper order. A tie is not supposed to have the markings of salad dressing on them. We can also think of the example from our own lives of drinking water out of a bathroom faucet. Now, most of us, unless our parents and ourselves were more sober thinking on the subject, refrain from taking a glass and drinking water out of the bathroom faucet, even though the water that comes out of the bathroom faucet is the same water that comes out of our kitchen faucet, which many of us do drink from, that kitchen faucet. Yet, because of the activities that are conceived as dirty that take place in the bathroom, one believes that one should not take part in activities of putting water in one's mouth and drink it that come out of that bathroom faucet. In many cultures, including Hindu ones, exposure to dead animals and corpses of people, for example, can be a source of ritual pollution, as can direct touching of someone who is of a lower social caste. Today, many Hindus regularly immerse themselves in water while saying a prayer to free themselves from physical and spiritual pollution. Archaeologists believe a similar practice took place 4,000 years ago. Among the Indus Valley Civilization ruins has been found many stone and clay tablets that are probably seals, such as are used to stamp a document that it is authentic from the advertised source, and they've also found small figurines of various shapes and poses. In the seal on the left, we see a person sitting in a yoga position and with arms extended towards the knees, wearing a headdress of horns, with faces not just looking forward, but one looking to its right and the other looking to its left. He is surrounded by animals, such as a tiger, a water buffalo, probably an elephant, a rhinoceros, and antelopes or deer as well. When we compare these with modern depictions of the god Shiva, as we see in the middle picture, who is one of the three most adored gods in India today, and we'll learn more about this in a later lecture, we see many similarities. First, both are commonly depicted sitting in a lotus position, or crisscross applesauce, as elementary school teachers are fond to call it. Although difficult to see in this modern Shiva, both are often shown surrounded by animals such as tigers or bulls, and the horn headdress of the seal looks a lot like the trident that Shiva commonly holds. Because of these similarities, this seal is often called Proto-Shiva, or an early form of the god who would evolve into the Shiva of today. Yet this god seemed to have been called by a different name 4,000 years ago, and probably becoming 1,000 years later what the Vedas call Rudra, a god whose name probably means howler, the roarer, or the wild one, before he took the name Shiva, which means the kind or auspicious. In addition, although scriptures about meditation would not really be composed till about 1,500 years later, or around 500-600 BCE, figurines like that of the top right also show people seeming to meditate in various yoga postures, suggesting that such disciplines may be a much more ancient practice in India than when the scriptures about them were composed around 600 BCE. Many figurines have also been found with feminine forms, often depicted with interesting, perhaps plaited hairdos or elaborate hats and scarves, and with large breasts and wide hips. Archaeologists speculate that the feminine, and her powers of fertility, fecundity, procreation, and reproduction, may have been celebrated and venerated in ancient India, along with her nurturing qualities and powers. Also, we can see similarities between the modern goddess figurine on the bottom left with the ancient one right next to it, suggesting that goddess worship may also go back to over 4,000 years in India. Goddess worship, as we'll discuss in a later lecture, today is one of the most prevalent forms of religion in India today. Additional clay and stone tablets have been found with seals of very big, strong, male, powerful, virile animals such as that of the animal that you can see in the top left, called the zebu bull. The predominance of such large, masculine animals in seals discuss that families, ethnic groups, and business companies would often use such animals as a symbol of their own identity to impress others with their own group's power, strength, and virility. The Veda scriptures suggest that parts of the body of such animals may have been consumed ritually, along with the recitation of certain spells or chants, that through a kind of magical process, the one who consumed that part of the animal would acquire that animal's qualities such as power and virility. In class, we'll discuss more if it looks like there's continuity between Indus Valley civilization and modern Hindu deities. And we'll also discuss what are the national identity implications of such identity questions. But first, I'll say a few words on the subject. Sanskrit writing, which became the writing to eventually put the Veda scriptures in written form, was not a part of the Indus Valley civilization. Hence, the relationship of this civilization to the later Vedic form of early Hindu religion is largely guesswork based on resemblances of artifacts between that period and later ones. that the question of continuity between the Indus Valley civilization and modern forms of Hinduism becomes very important in contemporary debates about India's national identity. India, since their independence from Britain in 1947, has been a legally secular country in their constitution where any religion or no religion is allowed to be practiced. Discrimination of others on account of religion is illegal, and the government is not allowed to give religious preferences, which are similar laws to that of the United States. However, one of the two largest political parties in India, the Bharatiya Janata Party, which we will just use the acronym and call the BJP, and their associated party, the VHP, are part of the Hindutva movement in India, which envisions the nation of India to be a Hindu country and sees Christians and Muslims as foreign intrusions that need not have any place or rights within Indian society. Such rhetoric, for example, led in 1992 to a Hindu mob descending upon an old Islamic mosque and destroying much of it, believing that this mosque was the site of the birthplace of their god or avatar named Ram or Rama, which we'll learn more about in a later lecture, which had been and should be again a Hindu temple dedicated to Rama. In other words, they wanted to destroy the mosque and replace it with a temple dedicated to Rama. This religious dispute led to mob violence of killing and revenge, in which thousands of Muslims and Hindus were killed in violence and counter-violence. What happened to the Indus Valley cities and why were they eventually abandoned? These cities declined the years between 1900 and 1600 BCE, or before the Common Era. In the 1800s, there's a theory by British and other Western European historians and Orientalists that an ethnic linguistic group called the Aryans, Aryan means noble or civilized, these Aryans, the group that would compose the Vedic scriptures, invaded the civilization, the Indus Valley civilization, and conquered it at that time. You can see how such a theory would have been popular, as at that time the Aryans were believed to be light-skinned, common descendants of the Europeans themselves, and that the precedent that previously a light-skinned people had conquered the area lent support to their own current or contemporary European efforts to colonize, control, and exploit India. However, fortified cities have been found in these areas, although relatively few weapons have been found. This suggests they're not likely decline because of armed struggle. A more likely explanation comes from research based on recent satellite images that seem to indicate that the rivers, in particular the Indus River, around which these cities were built, shifted their course 3,500 years ago, and it eventually became no longer practical to have such large cities that were no longer close to the rivers.